So we want to tell you a bit about SAP Graph and how to use it to write UI5. And our subline is we want to show you how SAP Graph helps you to simplify building apps in complex enterprise landscapes. So we're not sure if you've heard about SAP Graph, so let's give you a quick intro what it is, and then we'll show you the demo that we built with UI5 and Graph. Enterprise landscapes are complex, getting more complex, right? So we have lots of systems and services to deal with as developers, and that results, right, that the data that we want to consume in our applications is always very heterogeneous, right? So we have to deal with different data models, security technologies, authentication formats, different APIs and protocols. And all this landscape complexity, that's right, means that developers have to upskill. So they have to understand the enterprise landscape and all the intricacies, like where, in what system data lives and how it's replicated, right? What are leading systems and so on, how to connect to different systems and what are the correct APIs to use and so on. So this is very intricate knowledge of the IT landscape, right? Where we want to get data from to build our applications. That is sort of distracting away from the actual task, right? Focusing on building, let's say, a great app, great user experience, and so on. It also means that all this knowledge has to be implemented in the application, right? And this also tends that, for example, in the front end, right? Let's if we're looking at UI5 applications here, that we also add this complexity of the underlying landscape into our applications, which then makes reusing our applications across different enterprises and so harder. And this is the problem domain where SAP Graph comes in, and it solves this by adding a new and unified API for SAP to access all business data as a single and semantically connected business data graph, right? So this piece here in the middle that abstracts away from the complex enterprise landscape so that developers can actually focus just on the data, right? It's one API, all the data queries that you make through that one API. And for enterprises, then it allows to have this sort of an interface to all its data and for all its applications, and that they can actually be reused. So when I'm telling you that business data graph is basically data interconnected, let's have a short zoom in here. And okay, very complex picture, but it's not so complicated, right? So you see like all these colored nodes here, they're basically data entities from the different systems. We colored them here by system, for example, in green here, a product from S4HANA, or in yellow here, sales code collection from C4C system and so on. So we call those system-specific data entities, right? And Graph allows you to access them just as you access them today through the native APIs. What Graph also does is that it adds a unified data model and a simplified data model on top for the most used domains. This is shown here in blue. So for example, customer, sales quote, sales order, no matter what kind of system is underneath actually serving that data to the application. And you see also illustrated here that all those data entities are interconnected. So they're semantically interconnected. For let's say for a customer, you can have a connection to the sales order and then to items and products and so on. And also the unified entities and the system-specific entities are interconnected. And what Graph also does is it adds additional semantic connections to this overall data graph in the system-specific entities. So basically, it gives developers a single view on the data. And let me illustrate that quickly, right? If, for example, we want to access the products of a sales order for a given customer, an OData query could look like this, right? So for a given customer, let's say here 1701, what we do, we navigate to the sales orders by following that association, that semantic association to sales orders, right? And there we can select one, navigate to the items, let's say item number 10, and from there on, navigate to the semantically connected product. So this is the idea of the business data graph, right? That developers get all data access in all data in one interconnected graph. And that this basically, right, we traverse across the graph here with this query. So because today we have right, we're focusing on UI5. So as a UI5 developer, right, what does it bring me? And those are actually just the things that I mentioned, right? This one API, one single authentication. I don't have to deal with multiple authentication to different systems, uses principal propagation under the hood. There's only one data protocol, right? OData v4, no matter how complex the landscape is underneath and what the systems support. As application developer, I always just use OData v4 to talk to this business data graph. And of course, the business data graph itself, right? The connected and unified data model. What's maybe to mention here is that all the custom field extensions in the underlying systems are available there. Okay, so right, quick overview what it is. Now, how do I use it? And as a developer, right, we mentioned it's an OData v4 service, and basically from the outside, this is all it is. So you can use it as any other OData v4 service. So as an application developer, all you require is just the URL to this business data graph and the authentication key, and you're good to go. So, okay, how do you get this URL to the business data graph? This is something that has to be done right on a landscape level by the enterprise, typically an admin or key user. But it's not a complicated process. So this admin or key user would call basically a one-time script that auto-discovers this landscape, proposes a configuration, and then this is your business data graph. And this admin or key user would then just send the URL to the business data graph and the service key in that landscape to the developer, and you're good to go. So this is basically what's needed behind that. But today we will focusing here on the developer and how developers can use Graph. So this brings us to our demo now, where we built a UI5 application that actually uses SAP Graph. And a little to the setting, right? So here in this demo setting, we built an app that compares replicated data from two systems. So we have an S/4HANA system and a Sales Cloud system, and we implemented the application with and without Graph to show you a bit the differences. And now for the demo part, my colleague Evgeny will take over.
As a developer, yes, I get the task that I need to find individual customer in Sales Cloud system and check if this individual customer is blocked or not blocked in the S4 system. And without Graph, how I will do? I will create already add to destination for S4 system and Sales Cloud system. And what I will do? First, I will find, of course, individual customer, how its entity presented in the Sales Cloud system. And what I will do? I make request to the Sales Cloud system, create a new filter. I use for searching parameter, I use the last name. Operator, I use filter operator. Equal, and the value, I take the last name. Okay, now if the result is okay from Sales Cloud, what I will do, I will go to the S4 system. And here I need to know that individual customer has connection to the business partner in the S4 system. And what I will do, I will make request to S4 system, make again new filter, and for pass I will take the for the pass I will take the key. Operator the same, filter operator equal. And for value, I take the result from the first request. We assume that it's only one user, and the next you need to know that connection between business partner and individual customer is customer ID in advance to do this request. And now if I save it and check in the application, let's make network tab to see that there's two requests. Search and done. Okay, let's use a backup. Some issue. I think it's a code. And as you can see, the first it's go to the C4C system, and now when we get result from S4 system, you get the result that this individual customer in the Sales Cloud system is not blocked in the C4 system. And the complexity of your code, then you have complex of your landscape, then the complexity of code will be increased. And with SAP Graph, you can reduce this complexity, and as a developer, I need to only add a new data source for SAP Graph system that or data version form. And with SAP Graph, what you need to do, SAP Graph already provides this unified entity, individual customer, and using this entity, you can expand data from Sales Cloud and from S4HANA. And how it will be the request? The request will be answered. We request the SAP Graph individual customer. We expand S4 and C4C user. And for filtering, we're doing again last name equal last name, which we take from the input. So I save it, reload. Have the different view and clean the network. And if you do the same request, the same search, okay. Again, I have some some writing issue. I use again backup. Sorry for that. I guess there's some network issue which I have. Sorry for that, but the result should be the same. Probably I can show in the video, but I would like to show, I think, because there's some network issue which I had probably. Let's see if it's working now or not. I would like to show you, okay, there's some issue with connection to, currently I have to Sales Cloud, and normally with SAP Graph you can easily to discover your landscape, like how many entities you have, and you can easily to make some kind of check which data you have in the both systems, just to do one request, for example, for individual customer. But sorry for this connection issue, because there's some problem with Sales Cloud connection. But if I do the same request, it should provide the data which show both in the S/4HANA system and C4C, but there's some issue with, as you can see, there's some issue with connection to the Sales Cloud. Sorry for that.
Thanks, Yevgeny, for the demo. Yes, sorry that for the hiccup here. Basically, what you've seen is, right, that we can use a single model, connect to the unified entities, and from there on expand to get also the system-specific data entities as part of the data you retrieve, right? So it's not necessary to make separate calls to separate systems, right, and manage those separate models. It's one thing, and right, you just use, for example, here the OData expand to navigate or to get the data into your application. Our outro here. So this was our very short session here on what SAP Graph is, and a quick demo on how it can be used in UI5. If you want to learn more, right, just go to graph.sap and you'll find all your documentation, tutorials, blogs, and videos that we have. You can also see all the data entities that are available. And if you have any questions or feedback, right, just write us a mail, sap.graph@sap.com. Happy to answer all your questions and hear your feedback. Yes, thank you for attending the session here, and have a great UI5con.
Let's start with the online questions first. Question 1, about the auto-discovered landscape. Will the tables in DDIC be discovered, or everything in CDS views? Or from where will the SAP Graph get its data? Would you comment on that? Yes,
so SAP Graph connects to APIs of the system, so not to internal tables of the system, right? So this is to the system internal, but SAP Graph makes the access of system APIs. It, let's say, bundles them into one API. So no, we're not accessing tables directly, but for example, all the official exposed OData APIs, for example, of S4, of C4C, and so on, this is available through Graph.
Okay, SAP Graph. Does it work only with standard services, or does it work for custom entities too? And if yes, how do we maintain the relationship between two services from different systems?
We have support for customizations, yes, that is in there. I'm afraid I didn't quite get the second part of the question. I can't answer that now, but please feel free to maybe formulate that and send this to this email. So then we're happy to answer on that as well. Sorry.
Do we have any question here in the room, perhaps, from somebody?
Yeah, could you do the same with API management? And if so, why? What is the benefit of SAP Graph compared to API management?
So the two are very, very much related, right? So API management allows you to let's say manage your existing APIs and so on. So it's sort of in parallel, right? Because Graph takes multiple APIs and exposes them as one API. You could, of course, then still use API management to manage that API as well, right? It's a little so there. I would say it's maybe different perspectives on APIs and what you do with APIs. And Graph having more this perspective of giving you, let's say, semantically interconnecting data from different APIs.
Okay, thank you. So it would be possible to use it together as API management on top of SAP Graph.
Yes, and I think there's also a blog post available on that topic.
Okay, thank you. Interesting.
Any further question?
Yeah. We saw in the demo that there are two systems connected, and since the data was not coming from one of the system, it was not able to show the result. Is it still possible that you are able to handle like partial data or something?
Yes. So this was, let's say, what you saw was in the UI, the error handling, right? That was not quite there. But of course, so when you talk to Graph, right? It's so here. What we did is basically we wrote one query to fetch data from multiple systems, like all the systems that were connected here, and there was failure, right, in this one system, and we didn't have the error handling, let's say, to in the UI demo that we wrote. Did that answer your question?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.